if we're not being careful, like we're going to show up into life like a few fries short of a Happy Meal. This is the Begin Within podcast, where we believe real, lasting health and fitness requires you to start inside before you work out. I'm your host, Nate Slegger, and I'm here to show you behind the scenes of fitness. You already know exercise is good for you, but what about all the other things in life that affect your fitness? If you're looking for extra motivation to get started or to make sure you keep going, this is the place for you.
Produced by BeginWithin.fit.
My name is Jessica Corkin, the primary virtual personal trainer for Begin Within, and I am so excited to be your podcast guest host for this episode. We are turning the tables today on Nate, your regular podcast host, and he is going to share with you the 5 pillars we focus on with our training clients regarding their overall health and wellness. In particular, I encourage you to focus on not only what each of these pillars are, but also what they are in terms of what they look like when you're doing well in those areas. Listen also for the recurring themes of sustainability, intention, and lifestyle. And Nate notes that quick fixes aren't ideal, and he does offer one small actionable step that you can take today in regards to improving these pillars and either kickstarting or restarting your wellness journey. Here's my interview with Nate Slegger.
We have found that it's really important to also, address other aspects of what it takes for fitness, even in terms of like looking at them as a whole system.
Right. So we're talking about, getting results using a system of pillars, not just focusing on exercise or just nutrition. So,
yep.
Let's just talk about one of the more underrated pillars. And for a lot of people, that's hydration. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think you're right. It is underrated. And I say it's underrated because of, what I've experienced myself, in terms of like the benefits that come from just giving some attention to it, like in terms of how I feel, how my body feels, how I feel mentally. So yeah, hydration, like what it looks like, I would say is, experts will say like anywhere between half of your body weight in fluid ounces of water up to, 75% of your body weight in fluid ounces of water. So for most, Americans thinking like, hey, they're maybe around 200 pounds, that ends up being like a gallon of water, every day or really close to that amount. So that ends up kind of being the standard that, you see people hauling around their gallon of water. That's what they're going to drink for the day, and that's what I shoot for myself. And, I think it's when it's happening consistently throughout the day, someone's drinking 2, 4, 6 ounces every half hour or so, they're going to be able to stay really well hydrated. And that's kind of what healthy looks like in terms of hydration, but it's so important because it affects how your muscles operate. It affects how your joints feel, how your brain works. The brain's mostly water too. So if we want to have, good self-control and be thinking good thoughts that are going to support us, we got to stay hydrated as well. So it all, it affects everything. And that's the whole idea of the system, right? Is
right.
One thing affects the whole, and all these pieces kind of work together all the time to get us into a healthier place.
I've basically been nodding that whole time you're talking because of all those benefits. I think that, people just think of like, the physical benefits of hydration. So it's interesting to, take on that perspective of, the mental benefits and,
Yeah. And I think like these pillars, these pieces that all work together, like that's kind of going to be a common a common thing, I'll probably repeat myself here, is that they influence not just our body, not just weight loss, fat loss, or whatever, but also our brain and our mind, so that we can be making really good decisions about how we're living.
So you're saying even behavior change, can
Right.
influence that as well. So
Yeah.
it's kind of amazing.
Yep, absolutely. I think it's like, we use that phrase like, you're a few cards short of a deck or a few fries short of a Happy Meal, right? Like we'll tease somebody maybe who did something silly or, made a bad decision or whatever. But like, I think if we're not being careful, like we're going to show up into life like a few fries short of a Happy Meal, because we're not taking care of ourselves really well. We're not showing up with like the best brain that we could, because these things aren't being addressed. And so, like you said, then when we try to change a habit, we try to change our behavior, it takes so much focus and effort that we're only showing up with, hardware that's half operational. Like we want to bring our best self into this process of becoming our best self. Right.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's a great segue into mindset.
Yeah.
That's another pillar.
Yep. Yeah. And I think like we talk about that one, and I think it really has to do with like our clients' relationship with themselves, like really being intentional with thinking and choices. Like we use the phrase mindfulness a lot. But it comes down to like someone's relationship with themselves, their ability to reflect on the results that they're getting, their ability to stay calm when things aren't going well, controlling stress, because we know that stress, influences the way that our body works as well. The being able to intentionally create some space in our life where we feel okay, where we feel calm and we feel peace. Like that's when our body digests the best. So that's when our body is going to respond the best to the other things that we're doing, as we make healthier choices. And sometimes if we're in a stressful state and we stay there, all this other stuff that we might be trying to do it's not going to work, or it's not going to work as well again as it could if we we have a good relationship with ourselves, and we're working on having a better relationship with ourselves, finding some quiet time, maybe journaling on a regular basis, finding some time for reflection. I was reading a book called Deep Work by Cal Newport, and he talks a lot about the value of being bored and how important it is to just be alone with your thoughts in order to have good quality thoughts. And it just reminded me, like we as a society now, we really struggle with being bored, right? Like if we're standing in line for a second, like boom, phone's out, like I need someone else telling me what I should be thinking, versus like being okay with my own thoughts, my own ideas and intentions. And so it's like a muscle too that needs to be exercised in order for us to be healthy, in order for us to live our best life. So absolutely. Yeah. Mindfulness is a huge component of good health.
I really like that idea of, purposely being bored.
Yeah.
That might even allow for creativity if you're a creative, type, or working in a, it might even affect your work life as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think creativity is important in the process of getting healthier, right? It's a personal journey. So if you're not where you want to be, things aren't working well, like you have to be able to have some ideas that you are like, yeah, this is a great idea, I'm going to try that thing. It takes some resourcefulness and creativity, and it takes, that takes practice. It takes intention. And, if we're constantly distracted, we're not going to be able to produce those solutions that are going to get us moving in the right direction.
So to kind of summarize that, would you say, mindset would be a focus on stress management, um, being mindful, having, have like a purpose behind what you're doing? Would you say that kind of summarizes?
Yeah, I think I guess the way that I would summarize it is just your own relationship with yourself, and
I like
we
that.
using those words, mindfulness, intention, we talk about intentional
Mhm.
eating, intentional exercise, all those things. It implies that there is a purpose to it, and I'm putting focus on it for a reason. And it all stems from someone's relationship with themselves. And it's again a process that we're all in, but I think it's a pillar in good health, because if that is just off the wall, someone has negative self-talk and everything, how are they going to get the results they want and keep the results that they want? So
Mhm.
yeah, relationship with yourself is how I'd summarize it.
Would you say that this is the most influential of the pillars? And it's kind of a bold question.
Yeah. I, yeah, I want to say yes. I feel like they're totally a system. They all work together, but
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, that's the one that like keeps you in the process, right? Is
Mhm.
I want to become my best self. So I have to feel like, you know, I'm worthy of that in some ways. And if something's not working, I need to be able to create some ideas or to work around that problem that I've had. So, in all those, if those other areas aren't working, this is the one that kind of keeps you in the game, so to speak.
Mhm.
So yeah, let's say it. Let's just say it. It's the most important one.
Yeah, let's just be bold. I mean, a lot of people, there's that quote, motivation gets you started, habit keeps you going.
Yeah.
And I think mindset, plays a big role in that. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Absolutely.
Awesome. Um, let's dive into another one that might be a little underrated as well. Let's talk about rest a little bit.
Yeah. I just did an interview for another episode that was about sleep, and it comes up, and I think there's a book called Why We Sleep by, I think, Matthew Walker is the author's name. Like, he's all over now, TED Talks and
Mhm.
everywhere, talking about how important sleep is, how to get better sleep, why it's so important for all of us. um but it's like, yeah, if you're not well rested, like, we know, like, a little kid, if they haven't slept or they need their nap, like,
Mhm.
they're grouchy, right? Like, they don't have they don't feel well, they don't respond well to surprises or to, something unexpected, or if something doesn't go their way, like, they're even more um reactionary than they normally would be
Mhm.
if they were rested. Like, we tease about it. It's like, oh, they need a nap, right? Well, like,
Right.
in the whole process, of getting better, like, sometimes the challenge for people is, like, they just need a nap. Like, they need
Mhm.
better rest, and that helps our brain heal from the day's challenges and trauma. It helps our body heal. It helps our, again, we're digesting it. It just is so important. So yeah, sleep, I mean, what it looks like, even what the experts would say, 7 to 8 hours is what you need to go through, the appropriate number of cycles of sleep in order to have you feel refreshed, and in order to be well rested, and to accomplish what your brain and body need from that night of sleep. So it, in addition to that, experts say, and now, Matthew Walker, having, I just read that book, I think last year, he talks about, like, consistency being super important, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, like that. Those are signs of a really good sleep routine.
Okay.
So that's what sleep kind of looks like, what that pillar looks like what's our target, like what we're aiming for, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and then a consistent sleep routine.
To kind of add on to that, with that pillar, I know I usually refer to it as rest. Would you care to share a little bit about, the importance of rest as far as like rest days and,
Yeah.
importance of not overtraining, for exercise?
Yeah, I think for just for the sake of, like, our brain staying focused. Like we need a break. We need to take a little vacation. And that goes for like exercise as well. Like, I, you know, I think it's good to take a day off. You know, and I would say most people, if they're exercising in a way that's healthy for them, you know, they're probably not going to overtrain. You know, an Olympic athlete, they could be overtrained, right? A professional athlete, they get to where their body just can't work anymore. I think for the majority of our clients who are just regular people, it's more about, you know, the novelty of a break. A good day off does more for you than you can come back to it, you know, refreshed, recharged, ready to like work hard again. More so than just like, you know, physically they can't handle working out 7 days in a row and then starting the next week again. I think they probably could if everything else was good, but it's more of that like mental break, that little vacation that when you come back then to your routine, gives you a sense of being renewed and refreshed and recharged to keep going. So I think, yeah, rest days are super important as well.
It's kind of rest of the body and the mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on. Absolutely.
I think the next pillar, you know, is one that, you know, a lot of people obviously focus on in, you know, with pairing with exercise, but nutrition.
Yeah.
And what does that look like if someone's doing it in a healthy way?
Oh, yeah, that's a huge one. And it's kind of where we started, right? Like, as we were trying to support our clients better, it's like, all right, well, we know nutrition's huge. People want to lose weight. They want to lose fat. Like, we have to help them give attention to it in some way, shape, or form. And then we started to dig into all these other things, like the other pillars, and there's just a handful, but that are important as well. Nutrition is huge. So, you know, I think what we found is like the phrase, begin with the end in mind has been really important, because there's all kinds of like, you know, tips and tricks and diets and whatever that people would recommend. Like, here's how you lose fat. Here's how you get quick results. And kind of stepping back and being like, all right, what is, you know, a year, 2 years down the line when I'm living the life that I want to be living, when I'm as healthy as I want to be, or I'm, you know, the weight I want to be, what am I going to be doing? How am I going to be eating? Right? Am I going to be counting calories? Am I going to be doing, you know, this diet with this name forever? Or am I going to just be eating consistently, well-balanced meals, lots of produce, because we know, you know, it's packed with vitamins and minerals and fiber, and, you know, eating moderate amounts. You know, that's a little bit more what people are going to end up doing, hopefully. Right. So how can we start doing those things now? Right. Instead of like, hey, here's a secret, like magical diet pill will get you where you want. Like, if it's not going to be sustainable long-term, let's question it at the very least. And maybe we keep it, but let's more start talking about like, how can we make what you're eating better quality, right? Little by little, just getting healthier. So we're eating more produce, we're eating less processed foods, namely, limiting, you know, another thing would be like limiting calories from drinks, because those are so much connected to weight gain, things that people don't want. And then also, how can we start creating some mindfulness or intention around eating, you know, just not eating as much, right? Most people who want to lose weight, who need to lose weight in order to be healthier, they've been eating too much. So for whatever the reason is, we want to help them to start eating less, eating more moderately, eating what their body needs and not over consuming, you know, energy, which then gets stored where they don't want it. So, you know, slowing down is part of the process. Cooking and food prep is important. You know, smaller bites, undistracted eating. So you can see how the pillars are kind of connected, right?
Yeah, I see that connection.
Yeah. So those kinds of things have become something that we are talking about a lot more with clients, so that we can support them in moving steadily it's, being in a healthier place rather than just like, here, this is going to get you quick results, do this. And then what? Right.
Right. And I'm definitely sensing this central theme, intention. We've heard
Right.
that a few times now. And
Yeah.
especially with nutrition, that sustainability and how can we make this a part of your lifestyle as opposed to, what's going to get me there the fastest.
Right.
Obviously that's not the route we want.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on. Yeah. It might work to get you there fast, but then what happens after that? So many people abandon it and go back to habits they had before that are still habits, right? Versus like working on trying to change habits, trying to change the way we eat, as well as, how we eat, as well as what we eat, right? Kind of both of those at the same time, in order to have better nutrition.
Exactly. I like the idea of, just making it a lifestyle. That really goes with all these pillars.
Yeah.
As we're talking through them.
Absolutely.
And then our last pillar already, connection.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what does healthy look like with connection?
Yeah, I think connection is, healthy relationships with people around you, kind of like the world around you as well, because spending time in nature is really important, that connection. And research is showing that. There is a book called Brainwash, I think is what it's called. And the writers, two doctors, like they're awesome. They talk about, even how like spending time in nature, having good relationships with loved ones and friends, and really solid, good connections is so beneficial to your brain, again, to your ability to use the prefrontal cortex, the intentional mind, in order to make good decisions, to have better self-control. And of course we all know, like, our relationships outside of just ourselves can be such a source for support, comfort, healing. But if they're not well taken care of, they can also be a source of stress and anxiety and worry. So it's a really important, piece of it. So I think that has to do, taking a look at information coming in, what we allow in, to come into our life from the world outside, social media, news, whatever it is, and how much of it is really benefiting me versus, maybe adding stress and anxiety to me. And, constantly editing that, as well as taking a look at what we can do for, the sake of giving and experiencing stronger bonds with the people around us, and then taking time regularly as well to get outside, fresh air, sunlight, trees, green, water, all those kinds of things as well help us to enjoy our life more fully, and research is showing to actually be healthier.
So it's not just, connection with the people around you, it's your environment and what you're kind of allowing into your life. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. I really enjoyed kind of hosting today, kind of facilitating today's podcast. Can you tell me a little bit about, one actionable step, if someone's listening and, they want one thing that they can focus on as far as getting started with these pillars?
Yeah. So I would say just take a look at those, we talked about the 5 pillars: nutrition, hydration, sleep, relationship with yourself, connection to others, and then add in that 6th one of like good, healthy movement on a consistent basis. Take a look at those 6 things and think about, what healthy would look like for you. And then figure out which one there's the most opportunity for you to improve right now. Because the cool thing is, and then I would just say, like, what is that going to be? How are you going to move forward with it? Just ask that question, or have, those listening ask themselves that question. What does healthier look like for me in that area? What's the smallest step that I can take forward toward that right now? and when am I going to do it? And then just get started on it. Because again, like I said, the cool thing is it's a system. So if we move forward in one of these areas, even just a little bit, the cool thing is because they're so interconnected, some of the other areas, maybe all of those other areas, are also going to naturally move forward, taking us to a healthier place, a healthier version of ourselves. So just taking one small step forward in one of the areas is the next step. And really that is for all of us, right? No matter how great we think we're doing, no matter how healthy we might be, what's the next thing, right? Which one of these areas needs maybe the most attention or has the most opportunity for me? And how can I take a step in that direction?
So simple, start small, one small thing.
Yep, absolutely.
I like that a lot. We don't need to complicate it. It doesn't need to be, anything crazy. Just starting small, one thing, get that piece of paper out, write it down.
Yep. Plan it, schedule it, do it, and then keep doing it. And then, hey, look back at, these things. Hey, which one now, right? Do I keep working on this one? Can I take it farther forward? Or is there a different area now that I should be focusing on? Small is the best way to do it. No doubt about it. So, and it's the way that allows us to make changes that will last.
Perfect. I like that. So if you haven't already, get that piece of paper out. Thanks so much, Nate, for allowing me to guest host today. It was kind of fun to, turn the tables and, have you be the guest.
Yeah, it was. Thanks for doing it. This was fun.
If you are tired of feeling frustrated and disappointed with fitness and you're ready to get on the path to being the healthy person you want to be, just go to beginwithin.fit and click the Join Our Challenge button. We can't wait to support you in your fitness journey and help you to get the results you deserve.